Welcome to another edition of South Center's Chat. We have a very special guest from the country of Israel, Dr. Zaady. We'll be right back with the interview. Welcome to this edition of South Center's Chat. My name is Tom Worley. I serve as director at Ohio State University South Centers in Piketon, Ohio. And it's my special pleasure today to welcome a guest all the way from Israel due to technology of distance via Zoom, Dr. Eli Zaady. And he works in agricultural research, ecological research in Israel, and is here to share today really about Israeli agriculture, research, and the activity that he specifically carries out on behalf of the what is known as more common Ministry of Agriculture, but he's going to get into the setting in which he works. But I want to welcome you, Dr. Zaady, and so appreciate you joining us today. So maybe a way to get started, if we could, is for you just to share a little bit, even in understanding the pronunciation of your name. You mentioned it maybe had a German background. I don't know whether that's in your heritage, but if you want to share that and maybe some of your earlier life and how you kind of got to where you are today.
Thank you, Thomas. My name is Eli Zaady, and I grew up in the center of Israel as a kid in the city of Rehovot, which was known about 50 years ago as from his citrus grove that's growing around it, and the city of science. The city was surrounded with agricultural fields and open spaces that we as kids used to go around to play and take a school trip over there. And my connection with agriculture is that in our yard, we used to have a chicken coop and some animals and fruit trees. So it came to me that I was familiar with all that, and I used to help to work in the field, in the yard. It was a big yard, so we used to work over there, and as a kid, to help the grandfather and my family to grow some fruits and vegetables for the family. We have eggs from from the chicken, so it was very nice every morning together. Sure. But the cities grew up, and of course, everything is building now. And yeah, now when I'm visiting over there, I'm not familiar anywhere with my neighborhood because big and high buildings all around.
And you pursued your studies in the area of agriculture to begin with, or did that come later as you progressed along the academic route?
Yes, when I finished my serving in the Army, in the Navy, for 3 years, I came back to the city, to Rehovot, and I finished my first degree in agronomy in the Faculty of Agriculture of the Hebrew University. Then I went to Jerusalem to complete a master's degree in biotechnology in Jerusalem. And a few years later, I returned back to the Faculty of Agriculture for a Ph.D. in microbial ecology. The thesis was very interesting because I was working on nitrogen-fixing bacteria that I used to spread in pasture land in order to increase the biomass of the plants for the benefit of grazed animal. So it was very nice, and we got a very nice results of using this and fixing bacteria. And I think we got even a patent on that. I don't remember, it was 40 years ago. But
yeah, excellent.
But what is interesting that in between all that stuff, years, I was guiding in or teaching in the field school. and established and managed for 6 years a museum with the historical aspect of the establishment of the state of Israel. So people invite to come from the United States to visit us, to see the museum. It's very nice, very informative, and I guess it's a nice part of the Israel history.
Well, excellent, excellent. And is the museum located in your hometown or in Jerusalem or different place?
No, near my hometown.
Near the hometown.
It's in the middle of the agriculture area.
Right.
But now, of course,
right.
it's surrounded with side.
Right.
About 30 years ago, we moved the family to the Negev, which is in the south of Israel, in the Negev highland. Look at the amazing background behind me. This is what I can see from my porch. This is the Zany Valley. It's very familiar from the Bible. And I started my internship with in soil ecology, and this is in Ben-Gurion University. And as part of my postdoctoral fellowship, I came in 1994 to the Institute of Ecosystem Studies in New York, in Millbrook, New York, to work with Dr. Peter Groffman. It was very interesting because then it was a shift from soil microbiology to soil ecology, which gave us a very nice point of view, not only on special bacteria, but on the system, how the system is working.
Yeah, kind of a holistic look at the soil profile.
Just to see the system, how it's working. And from 1995 to 2005, I worked as a lecturer and senior researcher in Ben-Gurion University. And since 2005, I moved to the Agriculture Research Organization, what we call ARO, in the South Branch of it, in the Negev.
And that's the name Volcani?
Yeah, it's on the name of Volcani. He was the first researcher in the 1920s, I think, that's actually established in a small building, the institute, and then it grew up to what it's now. But the name, we call this institute on his name.
And you've mentioned that the Negev Desert is in southern part of Israel, and kind of describe what agricultural activity, what enterprises, what kind of agriculture farming takes place there in that vicinity.
Okay, in the south, yeah, it's because I'm working in the what we call Gilat Research Center, which is the southern branch of the ARO. We trying to specialize in what called desert agriculture. You need to understand that we have 70 in average, about 70 to 100 inches of rainfall. That's coming only 4 months in the winter. We don't have a summer rain over here. So it's a little bit problematic because you have to use or to invent technique to use or to grow crops in a very small, dry area. It's not easy because you have to use different technique. When in place that you have a lot of water and the temperature is right, it's very easy to grow crop.
Right.
But when you moving to the desert, you have to build or develop cultivation protocol for a wide variety of crops. What is the environment to grow them? I mean, you can grow them in a greenhouse, but this is not open spaces like we have. You have different pests, you have different disease, and you have problem of the soil. And then the water quality, some of the soils are with a lot of salt, so you need to solve this problem to find solution for future crisis, like climate change. We have problem of desertification, although it's minor in Israel, but we know that with our connection and collaboration with other countries, like in Africa, it's a big problem. Problem of soil degradation, erosion.
Is that primarily wind erosion at this point then, or is it water erosion? When you get rains, are they heavy and water?
It's a very good question because in desert, dust devil or dust storm is very familiar.
Mhm.
But what's happened with the rainfall? Because of the climate change, rainfall do not come like in usually, okay, spreading 10 millimeters over here and 10 millimeters over there. Sometimes it's coming in one storm that's dropping about 50 millimeter of rainfall. It's producing floods, and the floods, of course, causing a lot of soil erosion. So you have to find a way to solve this problem. And you have a different problem that you need to actually to catch this flood, because otherwise they will go to the wadis and from to the sea, and you will lose them. And that's what we call the limiting factor in desert. I mean, in desert, you don't have enough water, and when you have water, they're running out. So you must keep this resource in the area.
Right.
So we came out with the idea of water harvesting technique.
Okay.
That's we building dams to stop the water, and probably even places that have only 100 millimeter of rainfall, we can build some kind of dams, small dams in the wadis that keeping the water from running out. And then you can plant trees even in a place that you have 100 millimeter of rainfall, and you can plant fruit trees. And you have enough because of the water harvesting technique. You get an area that the tree is getting like 1,000 millimeter of rainfall, but it's not true because it's getting all the water from the overland runoff water. But it's enough for trees to grow. And sometimes people tell us, "Oh, you are actually planting forest in the desert." Of course, you cannot plant forest in the desert, but you can plant a group of trees with these small dams that water is harvested. And to see green in the eyes when you're driving in the south, it's something very nice, actually.
Right.
And if you can use it for agriculture, it's even better.
Yes. And Israel is known for, the top technology in irrigation, sprinkler systems, drip irrigation. Did that grow up out of the work there at the Institute or in that area of Israel, or is that more countrywide?
No, we start in the beginning, in the 50s and the 60s, we used sprinklers, but no one is using them anymore because of a lot of evaporation. We moved to drip irrigation, which actually getting water to the trees and to the root trees, straight to the root trees or what other crops they're growing. And that saved a lot of water. And I know that in some places, even in the United States, they irrigate in techniques of flooding all the fields.
Right.
It's losing a lot of water because the plants see the water that's in the area of the roots, not what's around it. So the techniques that's actually developed is, or most developed, is the drip irrigation. This is the best thing. Even in my yard now, I'm my garden. I'm using drip irrigation, and I have computer that's control the drip irrigation, giving the water exactly on the time in the middle of the night, of course, straight to the trees. I'm growing olive trees in my yard, and it's very nice. Of course, we have flowers and we have some vegetables, but everything used drip irrigation.
Really, the crops would all tend to be high value crops that when you have this kind of an investment, there's going to be something that it's not a commodity type crop, wheat or corn or anything like we're used to here in our part of the US.
when you irrigate or flooding the fields, you get a lot of weeds over there. Okay, in case of drip irrigation, they don't have enough water to grow around. But what is important that you can even give the fertilizer in the same water that you irrigated with the drip irrigation. So everything is concentrated in the area of the roots, and that's give you the best for crops, whatever you're growing over there.
Yes. We're working a little bit with this technology in hoop house, low input greenhouse effect, with plastic over hoops, and this very fertigation technique. And we're actually growing strawberries without soil. It's a medium, but everything, all of the nutrients have to be in the water that the strawberry plant needs to produce berries. And so we're trying to adopting a little bit of what you're doing, trying to extend the season of strawberry harvest here in the Midwest.
And you can actually direct it to the growing rate of the plant.
Yes.
I mean, you can actually adjust the amount of the fertilizer to the stage that the plant is growing. And when you're reaching to the fruit, you're changing it. Or when you need the vegetative growth, you give more. And you can actually make a very good calibration of what that plant is actually needed along the growing season.
Well, I think, Dr. Zaady, agroecology is your area of focus. And I know you touched on that in terms of the soil ecology. Is that's a much bigger term, though? Do you want to kind of just give us an overview? I know you can't give a whole lecture on it right here, but just help us understand what agroecology is all about.
The main idea in agroecology is actually what we call some kind, in different names, sustainable agriculture, to develop sustainable agriculture. You are dealing with pesticide, you're dealing with problem that's actually the farmers are doing. And we're trying to, of course, all the plastics that you can find in the fields and all that. And you're trying to build some kind of system, sustainable agriculture for the next generation. I mean, you're using a lot of pesticide, and it's, even if in case of the farmers, they're using much or higher amount than they actually need. So my job is to try to find some kind of what do you call it, equilibrium, or a point that I'm telling the farmer, please, if you're using this pesticide, you don't have to use it for all the field. Use it only for the spot that you have the problem. I mean, they try, okay, we will use the airplane, and the airplane will spread the pesticide all around, and everything will be good. You don't need it. It's cost money.
Right.
It's about, I don't know how it is in the United States, but it's $5,000 for 1 day of airplane. What about the pesticides that you're using? They cost fortune too. But if you have the problem on one line in the field or in the edge of the field, why you need to use it for all the field? So we're trying to build some kind of protocols, how to go to the field, to find the places that actually you need. You have pests over there and you need to do something against them. Maybe you can use some other techniques. Okay. I know that in some area, they actually growing natural vegetation on the edge of the field. That's the enemies of the pest will be able to get into the agriculture field and to do your fight against these pests. You don't have to use everything. You need to actually to think of different techniques that decrease the amount of what we call it actually disturbance to agriculture, but it's the amount of using the pesticide, the amount of using irrigation, all that, to do it in a certain way that's actually will keep this land. Because when you overuse the land, okay, you spread too much pesticide, you're reaching to what we call the badlands. Okay, and how you destroy this badlands? I mean, how you start to rebuild it again? How you going to clean the soil? I mean, what's happened to your kids and the next generation that will want to use this land? We have some other problem that's in the Israeli actually research fighting for. What the first one is the climate change. Okay, the first what we call now, and we know that's what's happened. It's in the news now. We know what's happened in Glasgow and all that. The season that's changing, like here in Israel, when the rainfall used to come in October, November, and to keep on until February, March, it's starting now in December, January. It's different temperature to grow the crops. It's different radiation. So all the things, and now like crops like wheat, rice, corn, even fruit trees, you have to develop different protocols for growing them.
Mm-hmm.
Because maybe you need to develop a new varieties of these crops that will be able to stand all these changes in the growing season, in the weather or the climate changing event.
Right.
We have a problem of food safety, right?
Food safety. Okay.
Food safety, yeah, for a human population because of all this climate change. You know that some countries in the Africa is now become a desert. So a lot of immigration coming to Europe because of that. They cannot grow. Shrinking of the growing area due to extensive construction. Less and less area left for crop growth, and you have to find a way to increase the crop in small area. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
These are, I think, the main problem that the Israeli agriculture, I think even around the world.
Well, I was just thinking that, that this is kind of mankind's problem. And with climate change, agroecology is very kind of, how would I say, kind of at the center or at the crux of that, as the environment changes and as you talk about the intensity of the rainfall. Well, Eli, this is very, very interesting. And I think we're down to just maybe 5 minutes or so. And I want to give you a chance to talk a little bit about the highlights of your research, just briefly, in terms of your time there at the Volcani Institute, as we come near the wrap up here.
Okay. I'm collaborating with researchers from Europe, US, and even Australia. I was spending before the corona 1 year sabbatical over there. And my main research was on what we call biological soil crust.
Biological soil
crust. You're all familiar when you're going out from your yard or just going around, you can see some on the soil surface, you see some green area after the rainfall and all that. This is a very small autotrophic organism which is doing photosynthesis. Actually, if you look in the magnifying glasses, you will find cyanobacteria, soil algae, moss, lichens. They all are, and they play a very crucial role in stabilizing the soil surface and prevent water and wind erosion in the desert. Of course, most of them in the desert. Some of them fixing atmospheric nitrogen and enriching the soil with nitrogen. And because they are doing photosynthesis, you have a contribution of carbon. So they actually help in the what we call nitrogen and carbon cycles. Okay, because they are part of the ecosystem, we can use them for a benefit of human. Okay. I'm using them for restoration ecology in desertified area, in badlands, because badlands and desertified area have growing up all the time because of the floods or whatever and erosion. And if we can cover the soil with this biological soil crust, or what we call in short biocrust, we can actually solve the problem of the erosion, soil erosion.
Wow.
Mining area. Okay, mining area that's you need to restore. Everything is moving over there because of the rainfall to the creeks nearby, and still you can use them. I know that I'm using them for stabilizing moving dunes. And we know that in the western side of the Negev, they had a problem of moving dunes. That's actually the sand is moving with the wind to the agriculture area, and you can lose about 25 to 30% of your crops with that. So we need to stabilize the area around them with a small cyanobacteria that's doing the job, and they are part of the ecosystem. So
absolutely,
do it once, and that's it.
That is so fascinating. I would have a lot of follow-up questions, but I think we're down to our last minute or so, Eli, and we have just time to talk a little bit briefly just about the opportunity for further collaboration. I know that some of your colleagues, and you mentioned having time in the USA, and I know that the world has shrunk, and sharing information is a great thing. So we look forward to visiting with you again when we can get something set up. I think there's just a lot more that we could talk about, but I do want to acknowledge and appreciate the time you spent with us today. And if there's anything you want to just add, just in a 10 seconds or so as we wrap up, I will give you that opportunity.
Now they have my name, so they can find it in my and
all right.
get
all right.
cooperation with.
All right. Well, I've enjoyed chatting with you today. Until the next time on South Center's Chat, on behalf of Dr. Zaady and myself, we look forward to seeing you again.
Thank you, Thomas.
Thank you.
For inviting me.